Oh, what can I make with all these beans? Last episode, which for you will be 2 episodes ago, because last episode we had our 100 subscriber special. Thank you so much for that. We made some beans from dry, and we made a cup of beans from dry, and figured out that the same eventual volume of beans costs about 1/3 of what the canned price is for a similar bean. But what do I do with all these beans once they're done? Well, I like just beans. In the previous video, I just put an egg on top with a little salsa and ate it with a tortilla for breakfast. With the rest of these, I'm gonna divide them in 2, use half for our refried beans today and half for next week. I'm gonna separate out the bean water because even though I told you I like the bean water, we're gonna use the bean water independently today and then divide the rest of the beans in half. Roughly an equal volume. For these beans that I'm using tomorrow, I'm gonna do a little prep work. I'm gonna measure out 12 ounces of Negro Modelo in here. You don't have to use Negro Modelo, that's just what I wanted to drink. And then the rest goes in our beans. A little too much. Guess we get a little bit extra. This goes in the fridge for future consumption. This one gets a lime. And we're ready to cook. Now this part is optional. If you want to go vegetarian or vegan, you can just add your own high heat oil to the pan right now, or if you already have some lard, which is traditional, you can get that in right now. Me, I want a little ground beef in my burrito, so I'm gonna render the fat out of some 80-20 ground beef. So pan on low. Wash your hands. Turn the beef. Obviously the stuff in the center is going to be a little more done than the stuff on the outside, so try to trade if you can. And this isn't going to look very good. It's not going to caramelize and get that nice Maillard browning because we're rendering the fat out, but we're going to eat it in a burrito and it's going to add tons of flavor, so it's fine. For those of you that may be new to the channel or just haven't seen the handful of episodes I've done with it, I like to keep a bowl full of onion skins, garlic skins, stems from herbs, things like that. Those are all things that are going to add great flavor to a stock. Now you might be saying, Curtis, this is a lot of chopped onion for a single serving of refried beans. And actually this is going to make 2 servings. And honestly, if I was feeling lazy and I didn't want to do another dish, I might use all of this and there's nothing wrong with that. But let's put about 1/3 to half of this away. It never hurts to have chopped onions in the fridge ready to go. I usually do the same thing with my garlic. I already had 2 cloves cut up in the fridge, so I'm just going to add 2 or 3 more cloves to that to make our recipe. I'm going to use one of these ancho peppers that I made this adobo sauce with if you want to check out how I made that. I'll put it up here. I'm also going to use the adobo sauce, but not as much as I would otherwise use. My dinner guest isn't as big of a fan of heat as I am. Going to cut off just a little nub of this jalapeno to give my portion a little bit of heat. Going to save the rest of that for next week. This beef is pretty done, so let's take this off of the heat. There's not quite as much fat in here as I want there to be, so I'm just going to add a tablespoon of butter to make up the difference. I'm going to turn up the pan a little bit, but not too much. The whole thing is hot right now, and I can take as long to do my onions as I want. Last bit of prep work I have to do, I'm going to shred up some cheddar cheese because I want cheese with these. And I like to do it into a container like this because it just keeps a little bit easier. I can shred it all now. I only have to do one dish. I guess 2 dishes if we count the grater, but I only have to wash the grater once. And these little guys that won't grate, those aren't garbage, those are snacks for the cook. Speaking of snacks for the cook, just brings up the mood. I want these with some nice color on them and smelling good before I add my garlic and my ancho chilies. Onions are nice and translucent, garlic is smelling good, that ancho is getting a little bit softer. Now is the time to add the beans. Now I'm going to salt later because remember in the last episode I salted my pot of beans. There is about a tablespoon of salt in the entirety of those beans that I made, so I probably will have to salt at the end, but I'm going to wait until I get a finished product to make that decision. But I know I like a little bit of cumin, maybe about a tablespoon. The same with smoked paprika. And if we're not making things spicy, you don't have to make them bland. You can use enough flavor. You can use other flavor. And then I'm just going to go for about a tablespoon of my homemade adobo. I can always add more later if I want to. Mix these around, get those spices all incorporated. And once I smell them and see them all over my beans, I'm going to take some bean water. And I'm just going to make sure that this looks wet. Now, if you'd like to, you can sit here and you can smash these down with the back of a spatula. I have a potato masher, so that's what I'm going to use. And as you smash these down, you are going to need to add a little bit more of the bean water. The beans are going to soak the rest of this liquid up as they smash. While I'm waiting for these beans to simmer down, I'm going to turn my oven on low, probably about 200 Fahrenheit or maybe around 95 Celsius if your oven goes that low. I just want to keep some chips with cheese warm so that they melt really easily when I put my beans on them. As you put down a layer of cheese, you can feel free to sprinkle with some smoked paprika or some cumin to your liking. This is a stoneware plate. As long as it goes in a cold oven, you can put it in there and it'll be just fine. The great thing about this is that if it's not quite coming together the way that you want it, just leave it on for longer, add a little bit more liquid. It's really the texture of the bean that we're getting to where we want it to be. And once the texture of the bean is where you want it to be, I'm going to add my secret ingredient, which is not so secret. Anyone that knows me well knows that I do not like sour cream as a condiment. Keep it away from my taco, keep it away from my burrito. But I do love it as an ingredient. And then I'm just going to add enough. That's maybe a quarter cup. I'm introducing a new segment I call Hindsight, 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 Hindsight. I forgot to put the beef in. I guess that's the problem when I have my ingredients behind me. I meant to put my beef in right now. That's wonderful. And now I'm tasting for seasoning. I'm tasting for enough sour cream. I know that I probably want just a little bit more cumin. And we'll go with just a touch more adobo. That's it, right there. That's just full flavor. It's gonna go great on our nachos. When I'm doing nachos, I like them a little more runny. When I'm doing a burrito, I like a decent amount. So let's reduce this a little bit more, get our tortilla going, and then we'll try them. I'm gonna put my jalapenos in here because now it's just me eating it. A little tapatio to finish that off. And we roll. When I'm done rolling, I like to put it back on the pan just to kind of seal it. This pan is off, by the way. Let's just let that cheese melt and try these nachos. That's nice. Nice and savory, cheesy. The chips are still crunchy because we held it hot in the oven. I like that a lot. But this one's for my roommate. Let's try the burrito. This is the opposite point of a burrito, but I do it for you guys. Check that out. Oh, the jalapeno is a game changer. You guys, get in the kitchen, let your hunger be your inspiration. This is amazing. It started with a pot of beans and it's not gonna end here. Next week, I've got that pot full of beans soaking in beer.